Dear colleagues, in our session today, Benoît and I will update you on the work of the BIS Innovation Hub. I will share with you the progress that has been made in setting up the hub, and Benoît will discuss the hub's work on Central Bank Digital Currencies. Tomorrow is actually an important date in the history of the hub. We will be celebrating the hub's second birthday. It was on June 30th, 2019, that the Board of Directors decided to launch the Innovation Hub. A lot has happened since then. I will share with you the key milestones in the journey. The model for the Innovation Hub is literally a hub. It is based in Basel and has centers located around the world, each opened in collaboration with the host central bank. This raises a question. Why did the BIS choose the model of a hub to promote innovation in the central banking community? Let us all remember that the BIS itself is a hub. For more than 9 decades, the BIS has been the main meeting place and cooperative body for central banks from around the world. Like a hub, we draw together central banks and policy makers to collaborate on many important activities, including economic analysis and training. Similarly, the Innovation Hub serves as a platform for collaboration among central banks on innovation. And of course, Basel itself is a hub, a railway hub. It was one of the reasons why Basel was chosen as the location for the BIS. It is no accident that our address is in Central Bahnplatz, which means the central square for trains. The Innovation Hub was given a threefold mandate from the Board of Directors to first identify and develop in-depth insights into critical trends in financial technology of relevance to central banks. Second, to explore the development of public goods to enhance the functioning of the global financial system. And third, to serve as a focal point for a network of central bank experts on innovation. The hub deals with practical problems in the financial sector and seeks to address them by using new technologies. To support the innovation process, the hub has started implementing standard innovation management methodologies such as design thinking and agile, which are well known in the field of technology. And to do the work, the hub collaborates with many different stakeholders, including the host central banks and other central banks, the standard setting bodies, BIS departments, groups such as the Consultative Group of Innovation and the Digital Economy, academia, and the private sector. 2 years ago, the Innovation Hub was vested with its mandate and important guidance from the board, but everything else had to be built from scratch. Like a railway system, the Innovation Hub had to build its railway stations, hire workers, build tracks, and start sending trains down those tracks. Our stations are the hub and its hub centers. Our tracks represent the work streams that are the focus of the hub's work. And like many railways, the hub's purpose is to serve the public interest. A railway moves people and goods between places. The hub makes the financial system work better for people. So to achieve this, what have we been doing in the past 2 years? Well, we hired the hub's first employee, Ross Lecco, in September 2019, and importantly appointed Benoît Cœuré as the head of the hub, who joined us in January 2020. The hub now has 33 employees drawn primarily from the BIS, host central banks, and other central banks. They form a team of diverse backgrounds, skills, and expertise. We established the first 3 hub centers with host central banks in Hong Kong, Switzerland, and Singapore in September, November, and November 2019, respectively. We established the BIS Innovation Hub Advisory Committee, which held its first meeting in June 2020. It is composed of governors, including from host central banks of hub centers, and chairs of BIS committee, and it is chaired by Jay Powell. It has already met 4 times and is providing invaluable guidance and advice to Benoît and me on the development of the work program of the Hub. It has also provided guidance on such important issues as how we collaborate with the private sector and how we hand over the outputs from our work when they are completed. In January 2021, we established the BIS Innovation Network, the 3rd pillar of the Hub's mandate. It is composed of experts of innovation from member central banks and observers from the BIS, the committees and associations, and the FSB. They collaborate on the identification of practical problems arising in the financial sector and on innovative answers using new technologies. It now has over 240 representatives from central banks. We are already expanding the Innovation Hub. Last year at the AGM, the board approved the establishment of 4 new hub centers in London with the Bank of England, Stockholm with the central banks of Denmark, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden, Toronto with the Bank of Canada, and in Frankfurt and Paris with the entire Eurosystem. The board also authorized the establishment of a strategic partnership with the Federal Reserve System through the New York Center of the New York Fed. We have made progress in making the expanded hub a reality. In January this year, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the New York Fed, establishing the strategic partnership, and this month we officially opened the London and Nordic centers. I am happy to say that the hub is truly becoming a global force for innovation. Let me stop here and pass to Benoît, who will guide us through the work the hub has been doing.
Thank you, Agustín, for setting the stage so nicely. The financial system relies on rails to ship money and increasingly data between locations. An open finance stack has payment rails and identity rails, just like a railway has tracks. Building tracks, digital tracks, is what we do in the Innovation Hub. And as Agustín mentioned, our tracks are the work streams that form the basis of our projects. And these are SubTech RegTech, the use of new technology for financial supervision and regulatory compliance, next generation financial market infrastructures, Central Bank Digital Currency, CBDC, open finance, cybersecurity, and green finance. In our first 3 hub centers, we already have an active project portfolio in many of these work streams. And we envisage that between our 2 new hub centers, we'll have new projects across all 6 themes. It is a global agenda that touches on all the issues of importance to central banks. Within our portfolio, half of our ongoing projects, highlighted in yellow in the slide, are CBDC related. This reflects the existing work of the first host central banks at the time of the establishment of the first centers. And it also evidences the enormous amount of attention CBDC is receiving throughout the central banking community. So let me focus now on our work on CBDC. I invite you to join me in a journey down the CBDC route. To get to our final destination, we are traveling on 3 different tracks: retail CBDC, wholesale CBDC, and for cross-border transactions, multiple CBDC. Our CBDC project portfolio has been developed under a strategy that was endorsed by the advisory committee. By design, it takes a wide-ranging approach that examines different types of CBDC and experiments with different technologies. All projects are directed towards a common objective: answering the questions that are at the top of your mind when thinking about CBDC. Our work is also closely linked with broader international initiatives. For retail CBDC, we are building projects on the menu of topics highlighted by Chapter 3 of the BIS Annual Economic Reports from 2020 and 2021, as presented by Hyun earlier today. For international CBDC, we are supporting the G20 roadmap to improve cross-border payments, where we are co-leading work on building blocks 17 and 19, the latter of which looks at the international dimension of CBDC. The journey has challenges and trade-offs that have to be addressed on the way. For example, questions for system design, including privacy, resilience, scalability, and interoperability in the areas of retail and wholesale CBDC. And when it comes to multiple CBDC arrangements, additional questions related to governance, integration, and cross-border interoperability. In our journey, we will need to stop and address each of them. Every stop in the form of a CBDC project will make us faster and stronger through experimentation. Now bear with me and let's dive deeper into practical details. For this, we are stopping first on the retail track. Our stop is in Hong Kong, Project Aurum. Project Aurum lays out an architectural design for retail CBDC. It builds on the intermediated vision described in this year's Chapter 3 of the Annual Economic Report. In any CBDC design, central banks and the private sector should focus on what they do best. For this, we've joined forces with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority to explore a two-tiered distribution model for retail CBDC. The plan is to create a prototype with two separate platforms. First, an inner DLT-based platform where central banks can issue CBDC with access to banks only. And second, an outer platform with access to the general public and to banks. This two-tier architecture decouples the CBDC issuance process from retail transactions. It has the potential to improve cyber resilience and reduce the central bank's role in safeguarding user data. Let's now move down our second track in the CBDC space, wholesale CBDC. Here we have two stops, both in Switzerland. The first wholesale stop is Helvetia, which is the name for the national personification of Switzerland. The Helvetia project is about wholesale CBDC for settling tokenized assets. It has been done jointly with the Swiss National Bank and the financial infrastructure operator SIX. It has already resulted in two proofs of concept to settle tokenized assets in central bank money. A report on these two proofs of concept was published last December. These have shown that central banks do have options in how they can provide central bank money to DLT-based security platforms. First, using a wholesale CBDC, proof of concept 1. And second, an alternative way through linking the RTGS system, proof of concept 2. Let's look on how this actually worked.
The Swiss National Bank, the Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub, and SIX have joined forces as part of Project Helvetia to investigate how central bank money could be integrated into a distributed ledger technology-based financial market infrastructure. The project consists of two proof of concepts. Both test the functional feasibility of settling tokenized assets, which are traded and settled on the SIX digital exchange in central bank money. In proof of concept number 1, the cash leg of the transaction is settled with a wholesale central bank digital currency, Wholesale CBDC, issued directly onto the DLT infrastructure of SDX by the Swiss National Bank. As part of proof of concept number 1, 4 use cases were investigated: issuance or tokenization of wholesale CBDC, redemption or detokenization of wholesale CBDC, delivery versus payment settlement of tokenized assets against wholesale CBDC, and transfer of wholesale CBDC or wholesale CBDC payment. In proof of concept number 2, interoperability between the DLT infrastructure of SDX and the Swiss RTGS system SIC is established, and the cash leg of the transaction is settled in SIC balances. As part of proof of concept number 2, one use case was investigated: delivery versus payment settlement of tokenized assets against SIC balances.
The train doesn't stop here. In the phase 2 of Project Helvetia, we will continue to explore practicalities of wholesale CBDC such as end-to-end connectivity with commercial banks and integration into central bank systems. Our second stop on the wholesale track is Project Arena. We decided to build an in-house shop for experimentation that will help our work in many different areas, including CBDC. We are creating a shared blockchain environment for all our hub centers to use in our cloud environment. To start with, we will build a core platform and modules for wholesale CBDC settlement and a liquidity saving mechanism. The liquidity saving mechanism will use data streaming technology to pool payments and machine learning to optimize settlement, which takes place in the integrated blockchain CBDC platform. Moving forward in our journey, we'll now start crossing borders on our international track. For this part of the journey, we are experimenting with different users of wholesale CBDC in a cross-border context. And our work on the international track is a key priority. Our first stop is in Hong Kong at the MCBDC Bridge project. We are all aware of the pain points that exist in cross-border fund transfers, such as inefficiencies, high cost, and low transparency. This project aims to use a wholesale CBDC to tackle these problems. It builds on the previous work of Project Intanon Lionrock, developed by the HKMA and the Bank of Thailand. We are currently working with the HKMA, the Bank of Thailand, the Digital Currency Institute of the People's Bank of China, and the Central Bank of the United Arab Emirates. We are developing a production platform to support instant cross-border payments in multiple currencies among multiple jurisdictions. The working prototype will provide an operational platform and corresponding linkages using distributed ledger technology. Let's see how this will work.
The MCBDC Bridge will further explore the capabilities of distributed ledger technologies by developing a POC prototype to support real-time, cross-border, foreign exchange payment versus payment transactions in multiple jurisdictions operating 24/7. It will analyze business use cases in a cross-border context with both domestic and foreign currencies. The participating central banks will take the results of the POC work into account to evaluate the feasibility of the MCBDC Bridge project for cross-border fund transfers, international trade settlement, and capital market transactions in their own jurisdictions. The MCBDC Bridge project fosters a conducive environment for more central banks in Asia, as well as other regions, to jointly study the potential for distributed ledger technology to enhance the financial infrastructure for cross-border payments. MCBDC Bridge is a multi-currency CBDC platform used by central and commercial banks to streamline key financial, economic, and regulatory activities. Using the platform, central banks can issue CBDCs, which commercial banks can use to perform cross-border payments and fund transfers instantly.
Our international track continues its route and stops in Singapore at Project Dunbar. If you are wondering how an international settlement network could be enabled through different governance and connectivity models, you will find the answers here. The project is being implemented jointly with the Monetary Authority of Singapore, building on the work of Project Ubin. It aims to develop working prototypes of shared settlement platforms for transactions with multiple CBDCs and connectivity mechanisms to link up multiple shared platforms. The common platform creates possibilities for more efficient cross-border transactions where several central banks use the same ledger. It enables central banks to share the costs while having access to best-in-class infrastructures. It may lower barriers of entry to central banks from emerging economies and enable them to participate in a state-of-the-art international settlement network. And linking up several such platforms may significantly improve the landscape for cross-border settlements. The international railway continues on to Europe through the Swiss mountains until it reaches Jura at the French-Swiss border. Here, we are exploring the use of a wholesale CBDC for cross-border settlement jointly with the Banque de France, the Swiss National Bank, and a private sector consortium. It involves a wholesale digital euro, a wholesale digital Swiss franc, and a tokenized financial instrument. building on phase 1 of Project Helvetia. It was just announced a couple of weeks ago. And for now, let me stop here. Our CBDC journey is based on collaboration. It's one of several journeys that the Hub will embark on, along with trips down the other subject tracks of our work program, such as SubTech, RegTech, Open Finance, and Green Finance. We've just embarked on this journey. It's one that is designed to improve the financial system and the daily lives of people everywhere. There will be many stops along the way and obstacles to overcome. But together, we will reach the final destination. Welcome aboard, and thank you for your attention.